This is Secret Life of Symbols.
This dollar bill has value because it is based on your physical body. Your flesh and blood body backs up the authority of this money. If you're an American, this money is backed up by your body. Now let me show you how. When you look at the front of the dollar bill, you will see on each side are serial numbers for this particular dollar bill, are serial numbers. If you look on the back of your Social Security card, you will see the numbers on the bottom. The numbers on the bottom, usually in red, represent your blood on the New York Stock Exchange. It represents your physical body. That's why the numbers are in red, representing your blood. Now, when you take the numbers on the Social Security card and put it next to the serial numbers on the dollar bill, you will see it's the same sequence of numbers and letters. And so what it's actually telling you is that there's like whatever the amount is, 24 million or 4 million or $6 million, whatever it is that your body is worth on the New York Stock Exchange, there's that much money out there all over the world in fives and tens and hundreds with your Social Security number on it. So these numbers line up exactly correct the same way. The numbers can be in blue, black, or red. And so this is why years ago, we used to say the government is just going to beat you black and blue, because black and blue are colors that are used in banking. You have to sign with a blue or black pen, or you can sign with a red pen, which represents your blood. And then you get into the esoteric symbols. On the dollar bill side with the pyramid has 13 layers. There are 13 layers in the pyramid. There are 72 stones in the pyramid. The pyramid has an all-seeing eye that's not touching the pyramid. Above it, it has the letters in Latin says annuit coeptus. Basically, annuit coeptus simply means our enterprise or our project now is a success. What project? What is it that's a project that's now a success? On the bottom, it says novus ordo seclorum. Novus is a novice, meaning new. Ordo is order, and seclorum is secular, which means of the world. It's secular. It's a secular project, and it seems to be working. So our project is now a success. What? The new order of the world. When you hear people talk about the New World Order, it's on the American dollar bill, New World Order. And it's based on what? It's based on the ancient Egyptian concepts of government, finance, law, and the way the ancient Egyptians understood the world at large. That's why you have a pyramid. Now, interesting, the word pyramid comes from, it's actually two words. A lot of people don't know this. Pyramid is two words put together, pyra and mid. Pyra is fire, like pyromaniacs. Pyrotex is fire. And mid simply means middle. So you put the two together, it becomes pyramid, or the fire in the middle. This is why today, when you go into public buildings like restaurants and hotels, you will see the restrooms for male and female, right? And on the male restrooms, all over in the public, will always be a pyramid. It's always a triangle or a pyramid on a male restroom. Women's is always a circle on the women's. Why? Because the pyramid is fire in the middle. And so the idea was that the fire of sex is in the middle of the human body. And so the women are also involved with this. They're called the circle of life. They keep the circle of life going. Without the women, there's no children. You'll see around the pyramid, you will see a circle, and that symbolizes the sun. And that symbolizing the sun has to do with Stonehenge. Stonehenge seems to be connected to the Great Pyramid of Egypt because they've used the same identical measuring inside Stonehenge as they used in the pyramid. The connection between Stonehenge and the Great Pyramid of Egypt, not all the pyramids, only that one pyramid called the Great Pyramid. That's not the big one in the middle. That's the one just before it, is actually called the Great Pyramid. And that Great Pyramid uses what is called the pyramid inch. It has to do with what the Egyptians called the sacred cubit, but that's another story. But the pyramid inch is used in the pyramid and in Stonehenge. This eye in the pyramid is representing the Egyptian sun god. The eagle, of course, represents the sun, and of course, on one side, we see that there's 32 feathers in one wing of the eagle and 33 on the other wing. 32 and 33 are Masonic numbers, the 32nd degree and then the 33rd degree. And of course, when you're going into court, they're going to give you the 3rd degree. And so showing that the courts are all Masonic construction to start with. So if you're not a Mason, you need to stay out of court. You better find out what you're doing when you go into court, because they're going to give you the 3rd degree. You will see 13 stars above the eagle's head, but the 13 stars are in the configuration of what we call the Star of David. And it's actually a 6-pointed star, which is a hexagram. We call it the Star of David, but that is not correct. Actually, in point of fact, it's called the Star of Saturn. And look it up in the encyclopedias and you will see a 6-pointed star has always been referred to as the Star of Saturn. But Saturn plays a very big part today in the world religions. The 13 stars, there are 13 arrows, there are 13 berries and leaves. There are 13 strips on the eagle's chest for the original American flag. The tail of the eagle has 9 feathers. There's a reason why. 9 is very important to the secret societies of Freemasonry coming out of the Vatican. The Vatican Freemasonry, York and Scottish Rite Freemasonry, they all realize that there's something very important about the 9 feathers, because the tail feathers of a bird help it direct its flight. It can decide where it wants to go according to the tail feathers. The reason why this is important, because if you look up the history of the Knights Templar, they were referred to as the Knights of the Temple of Solomon. Today it's in the Wailing Wall, is the Knights of the Temple of Solomon, is at the Wailing Wall. But if you look up in the dictionaries or encyclopedias the history of the Knights Templars, today what is called Knights Templars, we in America today call them the international bankers. The banking elites like the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and all of these international elites all are referred to in law as Knights Templars. But the bottom line on this is that if you look up the history of the Knights Templars in encyclopedias, it will tell you that this Knights Templars were founded by 9 men. 9 men founded the Knights Templars. And then they will give you some story about how these 9 men got together after the Crusades, once the Holy Land was protected under the Pope's dominion, and that there were so many people wanted to go to the Holy Land. It was very dangerous traveling in those days in the deserts to go to see the Holy Land. Those 9 men got together, the reference works say, and they formed a protection for the pilgrims going from Rome and from Europe over to the Middle East. Well, logic alone would tell you 9 men are not going to protect anybody. They're not going to go and protect all the millions of pilgrims going to the Middle East with 9 men. That was a cover story. But the actual story was that the Knights Templars were 9 Catholic Masonic order Freemasons who were putting together for the Vatican a whole new superstructure of money and banking and government, and the entire operation was under the Vatican control, and there were 9 men who were in charge of that project of rebuilding a new order in Europe. And so that's why the eagle has the 9 tail feathers. And most of the members of secret societies know that. If you bring this up, they'll tell you, yeah, well, there was no 9 men who protected the pilgrims. No 9 men could do that.